card max out. That trip. Max right out.
Smooth shot.
At them again.
I'm Move Maker, it's your girl Nat, and I'm here with another important video. Now, this video that I'm actually shooting today, I have shot twice before because it's a topic that I feel burdened about. And here I am again because we really need to talk.
We need to talk.
I feel that this topic is very important because there are many persons out there who are down this slippery path to financial destruction as a result of this card. On top of that, along with the delay in posting this video and even the need to have to reshoot the video, it came to with someone who I know is working on their wealth portfolio, asking me, hey, what's the step to get one of these cards? I'm like, oh, sure. Not this person, not this card. And at this point I said, hey, I really need to share the details. Even the other day I sat with one of my co-workers and we had a lengthy discussion, and he was detailing how this card almost ruined his life and how he had to say, hey, I don't want this card anymore. And trust me, I have been there, and I just want to detail that experience for you today. And yeah, this card is a card that many people like. Comes in different shapes, comes in different, no, it doesn't. This card is one that many people like. It comes in different colors. The size is pretty much standard across the world. And yeah, it's a very great tool, I will say, in creating financial wealth. However, if mishandled or poorly managed, it can ruin your life. Don't let it ruin your life today. Just listen to what I have to share in this video, and please don't let my experience be yours. And if my experience is already yours, let's look at ways at which we can, change things around a bit, because this year we're being consistent with the good practices, and of course we are thriving. Because last year we would have done a lot of the groundwork that we needed to do to get to where we need to be. So yeah, we're thriving this year, man. We're not make one card mash up a life. Nope, not mash up a life at all. So here's the scoop on this card. Now, I got my first formal job in 2012, and I remember the experience so vividly because it was a case wherein I had just graduated with my degree in chemistry, and in an effort to, be employed, I took a job as a secretary. And when I was a secretary, I used to have to go to the bank every end of month to, handle my finances how I wanted to handle it. And one day I walked into National Commercial Bank. For those who are not Jamaican, this is one of Jamaica's prominent, if not the most prominent commercial bank we have here in Jamaica. I walked into National Commercial Bank, and the next thing I knew, I saw by the teller a little, promotional material. I saw a promotional display sign that says, NCB has a card with your name on it. Ask the teller about it. So me, pick up my fast self, got ask the teller, what kind of card you have with my name on it? The gentleman outlined to me that he had a credit card with my name on it. That sounds good to me because the card have my name on it. That's number one. After all, my name is important. Why would I not want to have cards with my name on it? And then number two, credit cards. The idea of having credit cards as portrayed in media is very fabulous, but what tends to happen afterwards, I don't think the media portrays that part. So we have to be very cautious as to what we buy into, as what is gospel and what we really should accept. But anyways, good girl signed up for the card with her name on it, and guess who's got a credit card, or who got a credit card? Well, I did. I had the card using, and what I was using the card for was just additional expenses that I would incur as I go along. So if I wanted to do something nice, but then I had a whole idea with baking and just hanging out with my family and everything. So if I wanted to do all that, I would just put it on my credit card. Swipe the credit card, swipe the credit card. Back then, I had a limit that was 2.5 times my salary at first, or 2 times my gross salary at first. And yeah, it was exciting to me that hey, I have this extra money I can use every month. But then of course I would get the credit card bill and I would pay the minimum balance or the minimum balance plus some. And yeah, things were going great for me with this card, until Goody got fired. For the first time I had traveled, I went to Mexico, and whilst I was in Cancun for a month, I decided that hey, going home, I wanted to take home stuff with me. After all, it got fired me. I have to shop. Me not having disposable cash for me. Right now, I only had my credit card. And I can't forget that Sunday I walked to Rojo Canela, or went to Rojo Canela with my friends, and the next thing I know, this whole warehouse full of shoes, and I start at one end, and by the time I'm done, I took about 8 to 10 pairs of shoes. 8 to 10 pairs of shoes, I wanted them all. By the time I got to the cashier and was ready to, about 8 to 10 pairs of shoes, so not so much, I think about 5. On the 8 to 10 pairs was when I went to DC back in, 2016, and yes, I bought them all at that time. Cash. But anyways, yeah, I took about 5 pairs of shoes. When I went to the cashier and started tallying, my bill and started adding, I think I got to about shoe number 3, when I realized what was happening. And then by the time they tallied everything, total everything together, and my card was swiped, I was told my card declined. When we met there, I was in Mexico, and my card, what? In Mexico, my card declined. And I can only laugh right now because just thinking about the whole experience, it's so funny. Yeah, my card declined, and the next thing I knew, I had to be taking off until I believe that trip I came home with 2 out of the shoes plus the socks, and I think I took them back at the time. So yeah, that's all I could have afforded, card declined. So anyways, card max out. That trip. Max right. So of course, when I got home, my focus was paying it off. Yeah, and to pay it off, I was just focused a lot on paying the minimum balance or the minimum balance plus some. And I said, all right, over time, I can chip into all this. After all, at that time, the resort I was working at was still under construction, so we were not getting active gratuity, but we were getting salary, which was, still something to be grateful for at the time, considering the circumstances. And yeah, I kept on, paying off the card until I was able to gather enough balance on it. And that was when I did what I considered my costly financial mistake. One day I'm gonna take time to talk to you about that. And ladies, you're gonna be really addressing this video because some of us ladies are out here making these costly financial mistakes. Now we really don't realize how much it's hurting us, but of course I made a costly financial mistake. And what happened that month was that I missed the time for paying my credit card bill. And I can't forget, that was the December. And next thing I know, January came around, I had to try balance up. February came about, I had to try balance up. The end of February, I had no job. So what am I gonna do with this card? Continue to pay the minimum balance. March, balance up. April, balance up. Then of course the tough times financially hit me. But I was out of a job and was still making costly financial mistakes, yes, without a job. And the next thing I knew, the credit card went into bad debt. the ground could have opened up and swallowed me. When the people them start call and ask for the money, I would have been swallowed in the ground and I would not have been here today. Yeah, the cost of financial mistake led to me being unable to maintain a credit card, and the credit card went for me into bad debt. Yeah, it wasn't a fun experience. And the next thing I knew I got a different job and I was able to service all my debts. And of course, the credit card debt was the highest debt that I had at the time, because the card did accrue that 40% interest when it reached bad debt. And then of course, when you start have collectors and creditors and all these people calling them, start add their fees to things. And next thing I knew, I just said to them, so listen, let me just pay this off. And worth the card in bad debt, I'm gonna just run a pair of scissors through it because I don't need this card anymore. Like, for a while, I avoided anything and everything named credit card, because I realized to what extent my credit card credit was being affected. And the next thing I knew, credit card debt free. At one point in time in my life, I went completely debt free, and that is something that I wish I can get a chance to talk about one day. And I love to talk about it because the feeling is very, very good. And that's why even people who are in my Move Makers program now, guys, thank you for joining with me, and thank you for coming on board. For the first 3 months of this year, we're going to be looking at some key things, and yes, debt free and stress free is possible. And that is one of the key topics that we're going to be looking at 1 month, and I know you're going to be looking forward to it. So yeah, to my Move Makers, I can't wait. But yes, I was debt free at one point in time. No credit card debt, no other debt, no everything. And yeah, it felt really good. At that point, if I needed to make any purchases, I was using my debit card, which was giving me access to money that I had stored up. And I felt it was very good because I had control over my money then, and I can only spend what I had. So it was good to know that I wasn't spending thin air money, but I was spending money that I was looking at. And of course, I told myself, hey, credit card, no anymore. I will not take another credit card. But of course, I will continue to use my debit cards until I relocated. And yes, I was overseas and I relocated back home. And after, going around for a bit and being able to manage myself, going through the waves of financial, management. I've had my crests, I've had my troughs, my high moments, my low moments. Again, I turned up with an email from NCB that says, yes, I qualified for another credit card. At this point, I said, well, girl, here's the deal. You have that experience and know that you actually can qualify for a credit card with NCB, because I applied to another bank for a credit card and the people them deny me. Yeah, they denied me flat out, saying that my credit was bad. And yes, my credit was significantly affected by the bad debt from the credit card back then. I even remember when I was in bad debt that time, because there were a number of bills that were on me, especially in that period when I lost my job. Somebody had recommended to me that I declare bankruptcy, and I told myself, nope, I wasn't going to do that, because I know what implications it does have afterwards. I was just going to dig myself out of this pit that I was in. But yeah, I got a letter or got an email from NCB to say I qualified for a credit card. When I went in and I checked what the minimum balance was, I said, well, let me accept this minimum balance, because unlike the fact that the limit. Unlike the fact that the last limit on my card was twice my salary, this one was a fraction of my salary. And if a push comes to shove, I'm just gonna pay off this card and tell them to go take it and do whatever they want to do with it. That was where I was with the card. And yes, I did go. I got the card with that limit, and I purposed in my heart that I was going to do better than the first time with the usage of this card. And of course, I went. I used the card, would pay the minimum amount plus some. Minimum amount plus some. minimum amount plus some. But it became an ever a continuous cycle. At one point in time, I'm saying to myself, Natasha, the plus sum that you're paying is actually pretty much what you're using every month. So why are you having to pay this plus sum when you can just use the money and not have to worry about it, you know? And these are things that bothered me and thoughts that baffled me throughout. And I said, all right, here's the deal. You know, let me just continue to go ahead and see what's happening. Next thing I know, this was the credit card maxed out. Well, after all, a fraction, eventually it would. And with this little credit card, the limit being maxed, I was continuing to pay plus some for some poor bill, nah, budge. I think the real turning point for me came when I did a session with Keisha Bailey, the profit jump starter. She calls herself the money coach, and Keisha said, "Know your numbers." She said credit card debt is one of the easiest ones to accrue because of how you use the card, and of course it is one of the highest interest rate debts that you can get in. And when I actually took the opportunity to study my credit card and know what was happening at that time, that was my aha moment for me. And I just decided that, hey, I needed a plan. I needed a plan. In my last round of Move Makers, I got someone who I consider a financial expert by virtue of their own wealth portfolio to come in and talk with us. And I mean, those who were a part of the program can tell you it was an amazing presentation. Even people inside the operating theater have the wicked thing in the mirror, listening to the presentation and learning because it was so valuable at the time. And one of the key things that it was that after listening to that presentation and hearing the gentleman talk about the credit card and talk about how to manage the credit card, that was when everything became completely clear to me. What I could have done, how I could have tailored it. And the next thing I knew, I was using the same card that almost ruined my life to help build my wealth portfolio. And as a result of that, I just have some tips that I want to share when it comes on to management of your credit card. So, I wouldn't advise against not getting a credit card. I would only advise you to get a credit card if you are going to use it wisely. Just as my theme for Move Maker said this week, live responsibly. If you're going to spend responsibly and use that card responsibly, make some moves responsibly with that card, sure, I would highly recommend it. But if it is that you realize that you're going to have challenges or you have the wrong mindset around the card, do not take it. But of course, let's look at some tips, or my 4 top tips that I want to share when it comes on to the usage and management of a credit card. So number 1, whenever you're applying to get a credit card, use an amount that is, in terms of your limit, get a limit that is manageable. And when I say manageable, a limit that you can pay off with ease without having to worry. Get a manageable credit card limit. Yes, you can stretch your limits, but of course, assess to what extent you can. And you want to ensure that you're in a position where in the event something happens, you can pay off your credit card in full. So you don't have to deal with the stress that comes with that. Because every time you only pay the minimum balance in the credit card, what happens is that whatever is left, the interest is accrued on all of that in terms of the balance. And of course, if you spend on that again too, you have interest, new interest on what you spend plus the old interest that you carried over. All of that is accrued and totaled, and of course you're paying way more than you should be paying for your credit card usage. So always get a limit that you can handle, so if push comes to shove, you can pay it off right away. Number 2, always pay your credit card balance in full before the due date or before they print your statement. What I normally do, based on how my card is now in terms of my time and my salary, I will pay the minimum balance, if there's a minimum balance, before the date that they told me, and of course pay off my card before they bill me. because they're gonna bill you based on what your expenses at the time are. And the minute I learned this, and I will explain to my move makers and for those persons who are joining my circles like my Patreon, I will explain to you how it is that I was able to monitor the payment for my credit card and where the money come from, because I will tell you, every month I use my credit card, every month I pay it off. So of course I'll be able to share my little secret as to how I do that within these circles. So please join my Patreon. If you're on my Instagram, join my Instagram, join all my social media circles, and please subscribe to this channel. Who's to tell I may just bring that information here one day? Make sure you're subscribed and make sure your notification bell is on, because I may just bring that information here one day. But yes, always ensure that you're paying your credit card balance in full before the billing date. And if it is that you may have a bill, make sure you pay your bill before the due date. That is very, very, very important in ensuring that you do well in terms of the management of your card. Number 3, understand the bonus of using a credit card versus a debit card. So remember I told you this time when I was debt free, I was using my debit card. Little did I know, and little did I realize until recently, that every time you swipe your debit card, or every time you go to make a withdrawal on your debit card, they charge money like every single time. And if you're one of those persons who may tend to be doing a lot of activities out there, you shop a lot, you visit a lot of places, you take money a lot, you're gonna see, I encourage you, just sit one day, take your statement off your account and tell you how much money they would have taken from you in card machine usage fee, in ATM usage fee, in GCT, because them collect tax on every one of them fees there where them collect. And you would be surprised to know how much you're being charged to actually use your debit card. On the other hand, they pay you to use your credit card. In fact, there are many areas, especially depending on the type of card that you do have, there are many areas that you will qualify for cashback, or you can qualify for mileage, or air points. You can qualify for different things that you can use depending on the type of card that you have. And in this case, it's how you will see that they use, or they pay you for using this card. So guess what happened? Why would I want to be paid money to use a card when I can be paid to use a card? Use a credit card. And that is going to take me into point number 4. Use the card often. The more often you use a card, the more you get paid to use the card. I mean, ensure that you're using it within your limits and you're not passing your limits, because you would not want to do that. And of course, you will get to where you need to be with your credit card. So yeah, these are my 4 tips. They're nice and short and easy. And if you do have any questions surrounding this, please drop it in the comment section, or you can send me a message on Instagram at movemaker876. Or you can use any other channels of communication that you may have for me. Just let me know, and of course I would be happy to share with you, because I have been gaining success from fixing my credit card issues, and yeah, you can too. So this card does not have to ruin your life. Do not let it ruin your life. But of course, make sure that you are using this card to your biggest advantage to get to where you need to be in your route to financial wealth. Make that move today to use your card and use it properly. Guys, I have been trying for the last 4 months to get this right. For 1 month, I made a mistake, which they were able to point out to me, so I fixed that. Then 2 months, I went over credit. This month, I was not. So after I was taught how to actually manage my expenditure with this card and manage everything, the first month I made an attempt to pay off the card in full, right? Which I didn't do because something had come up. Yes, I remember I went somewhere and they wanted cash and I had a cash from my credit card amount. So I said, well, they said a bit of money now, show me. Only for me to realize that when the card came next month, the card came with a bill which was half the amount of the money almost half the amount. Remember, some of these interest rates are as 40, 42%, which was almost half the money that I did not pay on the previous bill. And I was shocked because I didn't understand what was happening. So I called NCB and I said, hey, me pay my credit card balance. What happened? She said, oh, the money that you had that you did not pay for, that money accrued interest, and what you're now having to pay is the interest on this. I could just cry. But then I said to myself, you know what? Them catch me this month. And I remember that was September. And the next thing I knew, I said, all right, not catching me next month. So, moved into October. Only during the month of October to go surpass the limit. And guess what? They charge me interest on the amount I surpassed by. Because once you over limit, they charge you over limit fee. So yes, I was over limit. They charged me the over limit fee and they charged me interest on that. Unfortunately, I said, alright, now reach me in a November. It reached me in a November. Why? Because that was the month. Oh, they did the credit card rental fee. I was not pleased, to say the least. But I knew I was making an effort. And what I did was that for the month of December, and I will insert the clips, I paid off my card in full. And God, NCB had me away with getting the bill. And when I got the bill, the next thing I knew, minimum amount due, $0. And of course, I did have even credit because I had paid more than I was supposed to be on the card. So of course, it was a happy place to be in, and I see where I've gotten things under control. You know what the interesting part about it is? 1 week later, I only see an email turn up from NCB to say, hey, we've raised the limit on your credit card. And this was amazing for me because yes, we need little money because of course we're doing things to, get ourselves where we need to be. We're out here making moves. And we're making some financial moves that are going to position ourselves for even greater. But of course, I have to be disciplined enough to know that before this credit card bill is due, I'm going to pay it off in full. And that's something that I'm definitely working on and I'm excited to do because I like to see when I don't owe people. Minimum amount due, $0, is what is going to be it for me for the entire 2023. And I want you to claim this in your life today because guess what happened? It's possible for you. But of course, it's gonna take strict management of what you do with your card and how you really handle things like your payments to get there. So make what you have to make a reality. Do what you need to do because I'm going to tell you what are some of the things you can do to ensure that that is your reality for 2023 and beyond. And yes, we're not out here making one little piece of plastic ruin our lives, but we're out here checking to see how we can use this one little piece of plastic that they give us to our best advantage. Minimum amount due on my credit card is $0. So guess who don't have a credit card bill this month? Yeah, I don't have to pay any extra money. I just have to pay for what I use. And then now I'm actually over in credit by $200 because I paid a little more. So talk to me nice. Zero credit card debt for 2023.